Hello everybody, Deanna here again. Today I thought we'd do this, it's a folio. It's got like a 1-inch ends, and it is, I believe, 8.5 by 8.5. And this is just my prototype, so we'll just open this. Of course, these will have to be magnetized, so they'll close. You have a flap in here with 2 pockets. This side opens up, and you have 2 pockets here. You have a flap and a flap. Another area here, and another area here with another pocket. And then on the right side, this is going to be cut on an angle, so this will also be a little pocket. This folds open. You have 3 panels here. Oops, I still am not in screen. It's a big bulb. You have 3 panels here, plus your little pocket panel. And when you go back this way, you have 3 more with the thing. So, well, that's what we're going to work on today. And the paper I'm going to use is the Graphic 45, and it's the Princess collection. Now, I've only used 12 sheets of this to create the folio, so I don't know if I'll need any more or not, but that's what I'm at right now, is 12 sheets. This is the 8x8 pack. I didn't have any of the ephemera or the cards or anything of that, any chipboard. I just used what was in this pack. So we're going to start with a brown cardstock base. And you're going to start with 1 sheet that's 12 inches, and you're going to, 12 by 12, you're going to cut that down to 12 by 8.5 inches. And on that 8.5 inches, you're going to score, or on the 12 inch, I'm sorry. I have a cold, so apparently it's affecting my brain. You're going to score at 1 inch, 2 inch, 10.5 inch, and then we're going to cut this at 11.5. Now, for most of this, you can get away with using probably your 8.5 by 11 sheets, but because this is so long, you will need 12 by 12 sheets for this. And I didn't have the brown color I wanted in the other, so that is why I used a 12 by 12. But my white one that I glued together, I glued that in separate panels. Alright, so that's our first piece. You're going to, and the reason I did the 1 inch is just to give it more stability on that 1 inch end, so that it's more stable. Boy, that just doesn't want to fold there. There we go. Just to create more stability. We will also be putting in, on the ends, we're going to be putting some chipboard. And I know typically that folios do not have chipboard, but it really does help stabilize them a little bit, and it's not adding that much bulk. And I didn't go the full 1 inch for that. I went under 1 inch, so to allow room for the bending. All right, our second piece is, again, 8.5 by 12. You're going to score again at 1 inch, and then you're going to cut at 5 1/4 inch. So 5 1/4, and you're going to cut that. That's one piece. Then you're going to flip this over, and you're going to cut this at, what do you cut this at? Oh, I see what I did. I marked it at 9, and I marked it over here, 9 3/4, but you don't want 9 3/4. So this is basically, see how big this is. It is 4 1/4. what I thought, but I didn't want to say it without. So 4 1/4. Oopsie. Here we go. There we go. And I believe these. Yeah, these are 8 1/2. Okay. So I didn't want to do that, have that. I got everything else pretty much cut and ready to go, but I wanted to show you this part on while we were doing it. We're going to take this last piece that we just cut, this 4 1/4 piece, and we're going to glue that down to this side here on our left side. That's where that's going to go. I have textured cardstock, so I'm going to have my textured part up. You can use score tape or glue or whatever kind of adhesive you prefer. And we're just going to glue that down. We don't want to put it on our score line. Pretty good. There we go. Now we're going to take this piece and we're going to put that on our right side. And again, we do not want to cross over our score line. Whoops. Man, oh man. I'm going to glue that right down here. I should have glued that on the inside. And here we go. Up to the score line, but not crossing over it. We want to be able to have that. Still be able to bend over. There we go. So what you have is this now. You have like a rectangle box shape. Okay? All right, these are pieces 1, 2, and 3 is what they're numbered in my book. Now I'm going to get rid of this. All right. Now, this piece here is 8 1/4 wide by 9 inches high. I put it on my 9-inch edge and I scored it at 1 inch. And this is again just for stability. Instead of using 1/2 inch hinges, I'm using 1 inch just for stability for this project. This is going to get glued down right here. And it's kind of hard to see. Let me take a couple of these. Here's my hinge, or here's my score line here, and here's my score line here. I'm going to center this in there on each side because I didn't want it near my hinges. So I'm going to have about, looks like about maybe an 1/8 of an inch on each side. Yeah, about 1/8 of an inch on each side. And it isn't the full length. It's a little bit shorter so you can reach and be able to lift it up easy. All right. Is that my score line? When you have all one dark color like this, it is really hard to see exactly where things. I'm going to come right up to the top. I'm going to center that. Right there. Hope it's centered. I might have to go over just a little bit more. There we go. All right. There we go. Our next piece is a pocket. It's 3.5 inches high, and it was cut 9 1/4 wide, and then I scored on my 9 1/4 inch edge. I scored at 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. Now this will also tuck in and leave about 1/8 of an inch on each side. So when you put this down, it should be covered. Okay. Now this doesn't have a, this is going to be 2 pockets. So what we're going to do is get our pen here on the inside. All right, and we're going to measure. So this is 8 1/4 wide. So at 4 1/8, we're going to make a pencil on the back side. So 4 1/8. We're just going to kind of make a dotted line. And that kind of will show us where to put our glue. We're just going to put a bead of glue right there. So we're going to do our ends like we normally would. We're going to run along the bottom. And then we're going to run a bead right in that area where we wanted to center. And this just helps keep some of the bulk down. I'm going to carefully grab these here. Whoops. Here and here with just, sorry, don't get into that glue too much. And I'm going to try to center that. And before I hit it too hard, I'm going to bring this down. That looks good. Right, line it up with the bottom. There we go. Press down on the center, press down on my hinges, along the bottom there. There we go. And we're just going to leave that alone and let it sit. And while that's sitting up, let's grab our chipboards. Now these are, like I said, they're not 1 inch. These are, looks like, let's turn it around, 15/16, I believe. And then my brown piece out for on top is the same size. And then my pink is 7/8. So it gets a little bit smaller. So we're going to put this up here a second. Get some brown, get the brown on. And you can glue this on prior to cutting it so you don't have to cut twice. And then just cut one time, cut your chipboard with the cardstock on top. There we go. And the reason I cut this under 1 inch is because I didn't want this to interfere with these things on the side here, and I'm hoping they will not. Usually I don't have a problem with that, so I'm hoping I won't have a problem with that this time. Okay, oops. Let me grab a, all right. I have a, see if I can get those edges inked there. With this one, I have one set that's fallen apart. I bought a new set. Oh, here it is. These are just cat's eyes. And I'm just going to try to brown up that edge there so it's not glaring white. There we go. I'll do the same thing to this one. Kind of hit it a little bit here just to get rid of that glare in case it is visible. All right, there we go. Okay, so let's do a kind of a test fit here just in case I have to cut it down. Now's the time to be able to do that. Second one here. When I first cut these were one of the first things I cut, and then I added a bunch of extra little flips and stuff, so I'm just debating whether or not I need to cut that down a little bit more. So once they're on, it's hard to get them off and change your mind, so let those dry up a second, and then we'll space them down. And then these will sit right on here just like that. Just give a little edge there. I think these can be cut down too. You know what, I think I'm going to slice these down just a little bit, just to be better safe than sorry. And that way, I don't have to worry about them not fitting properly. And what we'll have to do is just cut that paint down a little bit too. But if you get these in here and they are too big, then it's going to interfere with your flaps. And like I said, I had added additional flaps. All right. These are about 3/4 of an inch now. That should give me plenty of room. Plenty of room. So now I need to cut these down. And I'm just going to mark one here with a pencil. Just mark it. All right. Give these a slice at the same time here. I tried to have everything ready so that I didn't have to go through this, or you didn't have to go through this, and here we are. Let's try this. It doesn't look right. All right. Oops. Looks a little crooked. Yep, it is crooked. So is that one. Dang it. So this is a trick. If you think something's crooked, you can put it, line it, fold it, and line it up. And then what you can do is, without bending it, making a mark, fold it in half, and then just trim that down to kind of meet up. And usually by the time you get to, before you get to your center part, you're already at your part where it's the same. So that should help. There, that looks a lot better. All right. And sometimes it doesn't work, but most of the time, if it's, because sometimes it's on your trimmer when you're cutting small things like this, one just slides a little bit more than the other. So, because it's hard to grab onto. And typically I will grab a piece of like a sticky note or something and hold on to it with that, but that would just add more time to it. So if it wouldn't have worked very well, then I would have just waited and added that later rather than hold you guys up. All right, good enough. All right. So we're going to glue these in there, and that'll stabilize those ends for me. Yeah. Putting a glue there. There we go. All right, make sure it's on my fold. There we go. And stay away from those. Now this will run top to bottom, but kind of stay in the center of your hinges. There we go. Same on this side. It's going to run 8.5 inches high. Stay in between your hinge, or in between your score lines there. Just like that. There we go. And even though it's smaller than that inch, it will stabilize that. All right. It just stiffens that right up. Nice and pretty. All right, so we got that, we got that. Let's go on to our right side. All right, so on the right side you have a 12 by 12 piece, and you are going to score that at 1/2 inch, at 4 5/16, and at 8 3/4. Okay, you're going to fold your 1/2 inch down, like so. Your 1/2 inch is going to be down. Then your next fold you're going to fold in, and then this one is going to fold down too. This is going to get flipped though. I just have it upside down, but it will go like this. But my writing was the other way. You have another one, which I numbered number 7, and this piece is 8.5 high by 3 3/4 wide, and it was a scrap piece from one of my other cuts. So you're going to score at 1/4 inch and 3.5 inch. So you'll only have a 1/4 inch hinge on each side, and it will work fine. It will be just fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our trimmer out, and all I did was take this and I folded this down to meet this edge, and that's where I got that V from. So this corner is just folded right at that corner and then meets there. Now I'm going to put this in here on an angle, and I'm going to cut that off, and I can see it in there. It's just going to be trimmed off. Now we can glue this one on, and then we'll be able to see, we'll be able to put a pencil mark on there and cut that one. All right? Or maybe we can just, maybe before we glue it on, we'll just do that. Just line it up. The bottom. Get it lined up. Looks good. And then just make a, and the pencil line ain't going to matter because that's on the bottom. Let's just do that now before we get it in there. All right. Same thing. We're going to line up that pencil line. Just like that. And we're done. Okay. Now again, I have textured cardstock, so my textured is going to be facing in on this one, because that's going to be the visible edge. And we're just going to put a little dab of glue on that little 1/4 inch edge there. I know it's tiny to work with, but it's doable. And I only did that because otherwise I got to cut another piece, and then I end up with more scraps. So I try to use up my scrap pieces first before I cut into another whole sheet of paper. All right. Oops, I forgot to put a little bead of glue down at the bottom. Make sure this is in there good before I start moving it. And then we'll reach in and put a little bead of glue down at the bottom. But because this is a short hinges on these, we want to make sure they have a little bit of time to set up. Okay, look, I'm using our glitter glue, so it sets up pretty quick usually. All right, we're just going to get in there and just a little dab of glue. Sometimes you forget these things, and then this is, there we go. All right. Okay, so that was, this is number 6, this whole panel is, and this was number 7. All right. Now we got this panel here. How am I going to do that? How did I do that? I'm just going to relook at my book just to make sure. Yep, that gets glued on there. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's glue that on there. So this is going to get glued right to that edge. Oops, see, what's going on? Oh, there we go. Okay. Just looked funny to me. I'm so used to working with black. And then to have this brown, I thought that threw me off, but still just about as hard to see anything on it, like black is. Okay. Let's get this turned so I can see it. And I'm going to line that up at the bottom and on the edge. The top. There we go. And I am in a little bit from that score line, about 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to open this up so I can get that pressed down really good. Get that flat. All right. So now we're going to mark these. Okay. We're going to mark them the same as these ones, because when we go to get our papers, these are marked. So this is number 2, 2A, 2B. Flip her open, like so. We've got 2C, 2D, 2E, and then this is just the back pocket. We'll know that one because it's slanted. All right, so that takes care of that for right now. And that will just help us when we're putting the rest of our stuff on. Let's fold that up and get it out of our way. We're going to go to our left side. Now, on our left side, we have these are number 2. So we have 8, which is the 2 flaps. And these are cut. Where's my other? Something's missing here. Something is missing. What is missing? 9. Okay, we're going to put on number 9 first. That gets glued right here. And that is 4 5/8 by 8 3/8. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Why is that smaller? Because it flips inside? Oh, I think because it flips inside. I think that's why I made it smaller. So you're just going to center that on there. Alright. So it's just going to be just a little bit different. 1/16 of an inch. Maybe not even that much. You know what? I believe. That's my German Shepherd. She's telling me that her dad is home, and I can tell by her bark because it's a friendly bark. That is 8 1/2 inches. It's a friendly bark. When it's somebody she doesn't know, it's a totally different bark. She's a big girl. She's 126 pounds. Her name is Gerda. and she lets people know that she is here. She is our family pet, but she is also our guardian. So she's a good girl. She's really good with the grandkids. And all right, so our number 8s are 6 5/8 by 4 1/8. And we're going to glue one at the top and one at the bottom, and they're going to flip up and down. So here we go. And those get centered. Stay away from your score lines on each side. You should have just, about 1/16 of an inch. There we go. That one flips up. And this one goes here, and it's going to flip down. Sorry about the noise. Okay, and we're going to go right to that bottom edge. And again, you're going to have about 1/16 of an inch on each side from the score line. Lay that down, make sure it matches up with the one above it. There we go. Okay. Flip, flip. Now, this one is number 11, and that is 8 1/2 by 4 1/8. I think my other measurements are for my pink. 4 1/2 wide, and these are scored at 1/2 inch. So that's going to get glued on the right side there. We got a bunch of snow last night, so he might be driving up and down the driveway packing it in, and that's probably driving her literally crazy. All right. Stay in line with your flips there. About 1/16 of an inch away from that score line. Should line up nicely. There we go. Give her a press. And all these will all have a layer of pink on top of the brown. And then, except for the centers here, they're going to get the decorative cardstock. Now we got 2 pockets here. And I am missing a pocket. All right. These are number 10s, and they're going to go here and here. And the only difference in these is because I wanted to have wanted them to meet in the center. So one is scored just a little bit bigger than the other, like 1/16 of an inch. And they are 3 1/4 high by 5 3/16 wide. And then they're scored. Where's my ruler? Let me just double check these. I wrote everything down in the other book. Here's this book. Okay. So they are 5 3/16 wide. And then scored 1/2 inch on each end. They're 3/4 of an inch. These are 3 1/2 inch tall. It's the wrong one. Right. So they are 3 1/2 inches tall. And then one is scored 1/2 inch, and then God, that's so hard to see with that brown. 1/2 inch, and then 5 1/8. So we got 5 1/8 wide, and one is scored at 1/2 inch, and then it's scored again at 4 5/8. 4 5/8 score. This one is scored at 1/2 inch, and then it's scored at, this one's scored at 4 5/8 too. Why is that? But when you look at them, one is scored a little different. So one is scored just a little bit wider. If you can get away with scoring and you have a bigger gap in between there, that's fine. I just didn't want that big gap. So, I'm going to lay these down like that. And I think that's why this one's a little bit smaller, because I went in and rescored it 1/16 of an inch to make it a little bit wider. And this video is quite the kicker today. Not going to be easy to follow in some spots. Line it up along the edge and the side. Force it down. Yeah, it's just a 1/16 of an inch. Scored another 1/16 of an inch bigger on one of these. Okay. And that just kind of worked out perfect. This up at the corner, bottom, and the edge, that in. And then see, that meets up perfect with that extra 1/16 of an inch different. Oh my goodness, this is going to be the worst video ever. Right. There we go. So we got 2 pockets there. We got our flips. So this goes in, this flips up, flips up. Yep. So in, flip, flip, flip. And you can retrain these to kind of fit in there better. All right. Okay, now before we forget, I'm going to put a magnet on here. I want this magnetized there before we decorate. I like to stay about an inch in so it's not too obvious. I have a magnetic mat here, so it's reaching through. I'm going to put my tape down, do that. Bring this on over. Other flap up. How do I want these? Let me see. Yeah. I think I want that down the bottom. These two. Is that going to work? No. These two. Then this. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to just retrain this to go over top. And by just doing this, it retrains that hinge part to give a little bit. Yep, I'm doing a video. Doing a video. That's all right. You didn't know. There. And then we're going to put that on there. Like that. All right. Once we get these on, I'm going to probably make this 2 videos. We'll finish up this part so I can say hello to my husband. And then I'll come back in a little bit and we'll do the second video of decorating. So we've got our magnet. We've got this. And I will come back shortly and finish up with the second video. So I'll be back. Bye.